Today was kind of magical. I felt things even more deeply than I did the first day out on our walk. And I found myself on the phone with my husband tonight, and he said, "So, I know it's hard to share what's going on there." He's like, "But come on, throw me a bone, tell me something." And I said, "I can promise you, I will never be the same on the earth again."
It's all in going back to that place when we were innocent, when we could just be spontaneous, when we could just be who we were without worrying about what people thought about us, you know? Like, it is just so much fun to be back at a kid's birthday party again and going, "Isn't this great? What do you see? You know, what do you feel? Let's just have fun." And that's what I've learned from being here, is that animals are spontaneous. They live in the moment. They are absolutely who they are at any moment. They're never putting on any pretense. They just, you get what you see. And that's what I think their biggest lesson to us is just, you know, just be absolutely truthful. You know, it's that old e-truth again. Absolute truth from its inception at the thought level to its reverberation in every fiber of your being. And it's just so much fun to be truthful because you don't care what anybody thinks, right?
It was an amazing day. And just, you know, the idea this morning was to go and pick our horse or have our horse pick us, but you know, that it was just such an amazing thing being in the energy of all of the horses, and it was like, wow, which one do you pick? You know, I want them all.
You could have picked them all.
And sort of spent some time with a few of them, and you know, brushed them and did some healing on them, and then at one stage I went around and in the door of the barn, one of the horses, and I think it was Winnie, was just standing there with her head on the door jamb. And I just felt this overwhelming emotion coming up, and tears came to my eyes, and I just felt sadness and just emotion for her, and it was like, wow, you know, I just wanted to spend some time and give something back to the horses that give so much out to us, and give us all this enjoyment and this, you know, this quality of life to us, and share everything that's in their hearts with us. And I just felt like she needed something back, and I wanted to be able to give that back to her. So that was a really special time. Also spending time on the healing table and lying there while there's this horse, and I'm not sure which horse it was, but feeling this horse kind of nibbling its way up my leg and sort of, you know, kissing me on the mouth and then trying to bite my nose off, I thought. I'm like, ah. And then the cat jumps up and sits its backside on my face. And I'm like, what's going on here?
All gifts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the cat was a really special treat for me because I've got two cats of my own, which I really miss. They're my babies. And, you know, this cat walked all over me and purred, and just like my cats would do at home. So that was like a really special healing for me today, you know, with the horses, for me being able to give to the horses, to receive from the horses and from, you know, the cat. And of course the dogs are always around and, you know, following us on our trail today. It was such a neat day. And of course all the other experiences that I had along the trail. But I think that's probably another story for another day.
Every day I'm more grateful for the things you've all shared with me. And today, as I was trying to get Peshar to come around to my way of thinking, and I know I used some old school methods on him, which didn't work. But the whole time I was thinking about his ancestors who sometimes treated very unkindly. Some of them were not fed enough. Some of them worked hours and hours every day, whether they wanted to or not. And I think how incredibly lucky these horses in particular are to be able to have all this land and to be able to come and go basically as they please. And I guess there was a part of me that really didn't want to change any of that. As much as I would like to connect with a horse, I really don't have a use for one now. And I'm trying to get over that mindset that horses are to use.
Well, today it became very apparent to me that for each of us, this week's journey is a form of sacred pilgrimage. And I think of people all over the world making their sacred pilgrimages as individuals or as families or as groups of friends, and how extraordinary those times in our lives are. And I was thinking very strongly about a pilgrimage my family took to Assisi to retrace the steps of St. Francis and St. Clare, and going to the basilica and seeing the frescoes of St. Francis with the animals, and to sit at the hermitage and kneel and pray and meditate where he knelt and prayed, and to see the miracle of the doves and how special that was.
Well, I don't know where to start. What a day for me. My experience with the horses today was quite incredible. Being the first time I've ever even attempted natural horsemanship. What a star Miro was. And thank you, Gina. Thank you, Gina, and thank you, Liz, for the horse, and Gina for the start, helping me get started. Definitely a start. Won't stop from here. I was intimidated by him a couple times, but other than that, I had a lot of fun. I was sitting watching Carrie getting healed on the table with the horse and the cat. I thought, oh, I have to get a picture of that. I went up on the hill by the house and took a picture down on the table with the horses. In the background, and the cat's name is Noon. Looked at me, and he had a flash in his eyes. They just went big and green. And he went, meow, jumped off the table, came up the hill, and approached me like the very first cat I ever lost as a child, whose name was Tutu. Played with me for 2 minutes. I talked to my cat. And then she went away. And I said, this is the cat of cats of the past. That was quite incredible.
It's funny the way he just reminds everybody of their cats.
Yes. And then that was it. He jumped off the table, came to me, and I was quite a ways away at the time. And then this afternoon, everything. The tree, I'm not even going to go there because I can't go there yet. But I would like to share something, if it's all right to share something that I've written that came to me yesterday, because I can't go to the tree right now. I will have a meltdown. I left yesterday at lunch, I guess, and just went up for a walk and found a rock and sat and just started to write. And this is what came. Day 2 at Gateway 2. It is only day 2, and so much has happened to me. No, the horses have not directly spoken to me yet. But the land has transformed me and allowed myself to begin the journey to inner peace. I wonder to myself why I have cared so much about what other people think of me. Why do I need their acceptance? Here on this land, I am who I am, accepting myself. I am not perfect. There is a long journey ahead to find that perfect place of whole truth. But this land has set my course. Here, I feel free of burden, free of judgment, weightless, as if I could fly over the land and be its keeper. An eagle soaring in the breeze, just watching and observing how the land unfolds, revealing its true self. And I just want to thank you all for this incredible experience and for the beginning of my new life.
Well, I'm almost speechless because I'm just in awe of the intimacy that everybody is just like opening up wide open, and I think we're probably going to be sealed in a bond forever. You know, Connie and I were laughing tonight. You know, like we'll probably be group emailing each other for the rest of our lives. Wait till I tell you what I saw out in the backyard today. You know, I mean, you can spill the milk on the kitchen table and find something beautiful about it, right?
I'm going to echo what Dana just said, the intimacy that's forming in this group is happening very quickly. And what's showing up for me as I'm observing is you're healing each other. I was just so impressed today to see people stepping in and holding space and touching and holding it. My heart sings. It's making my heart sing.
My prayer for all of us here is that we discover those God-given hidden talents, to use them for the rest of our lives in joy and grace, because life's too short not to enjoy what we're doing each and every day. And especially you, Liz, you just show us how to live. And if you notice on this picture, on this Steela's cheek, there's 2 horses in the circle.
Yeah. You'll study it for a long time and you'll keep seeing. If you turn the picture, you'll see different things.
Yeah, there's more down there.
And her name is Calm Healer in Gaelic.
Yeah. Too much happened to me today to even start.
That's fine.
I'm chillaxing.
That's
I
fine.
can't even begin.
Yeah, we've already finished our 3rd day. We're halfway through. I'm a little bit sad because my goal was, when I come here, I want it to last like, for a year, because that's what life is. We can spend a year and we don't remember what we actually did in that year, or we can spend a day and remember every bit, so that day seems like a year. And that's why it's so nice to be a child, because 6 weeks summer holidays just seem endless. It never ends. But when you're an adult, it starts and finishes at the same time sometimes. So I must correct myself now. I do feel here like the 3 days were really long. But I wish they would feel even longer. And that's what I'm trying to find, that my life, it doesn't matter, if I only live another 3 years or 30 years, but that time I live, I want to really feel it's as long as a human can feel it. And that's really my goal. And then when I sat on that rock, I really felt like a young Indian girl on my Black Beauty. It was always my dream to just be on my horse and feel free, and the wind in my hair. And then when Billa said, well, first when I sat on the ground, before I sat on the rock, it felt so familiar and so soft, and like I've seen that view so many times. And then Billa said, I was there before in a past life, and I really believed her. And then some really deep stuff came up in what I saw, and what I even think I have problems now, what happened in that life. So it's not all wonderful what you experienced in your past life, but I can't really talk about it. But a lot of things, I had an awakening, and I would like to talk to Billa about it, but it's a bit too personal.
We're going to go out on the land. We're going to do our walk. Tomorrow we'll do the horses, lunch, walk, and then we're going to send you out on your own to find your spot on this land, what will speak to you. And you're going to build a mandala. So I'm going to hand this out to you tonight. I'm not going to teach it tonight because we're all tired. I'm going to teach it tomorrow. But what I want you to do is I want you to read this handout. It's an introduction to mandala and explains what a mandala is, so that you're very clear on that. And then I'll give you instruction on exactly what we're going to work on within mandala in this workshop.
So when Billa taught us about the mandala, I knew immediately where I wanted to go, back to the moccasin path where I've been in a previous life, back to my rock, the horse, where I could just feel absolute freedom. In the beautiful tree, I could ask questions, very important questions, and the tree answered them immediately without me thinking. So I went back, well, I saw where was it? And there she was, Liz. I'll show you Margaret. So on my way home, we just go a bit of a higher path. So she showed me the way, and Kevin's sort of gate or fence, whatever it was, showed me where to go. So I saw my rock. It was very damp and a bit dark, and so the sunlight showed me where I should have my mandala. It was right on the moccasin path. Beautiful sunlight. And so I saw how I'm going to make a circle. It's a very narrow path. It's steep. But there was already, well, it was put there for me, a pile of nice straight logs. I don't know, maybe by Kevin or someone who wanted to build something, but I hesitated, should I use it? But then I thought, of course, there's nothing else I can make a circle with. So there were exactly enough logs for me to make a really nice. It was more like an rectangle, like little bits of corners, but it did really create a nice aura around me, a nice circle. So I was lying on the moccasin path trail, feeling all these ancient generations of people walking underneath me, not loads, only ever one at a time. And I could just feel it, because that is actually real. I didn't think, or maybe I'm just imagining it or not. Many people walked on that path who are now not in the same physical shape at this moment anymore.
I went back to my spot that I've been meditating at every day. And although I did stay open-minded until it was all over, and then I knew that I needed to go back to my spot. I found this tree that, like others, looks like it's growing right out of a rock, but makes for a very natural seat where you can sit your bottom on the rock and lean up against the tree. But what's really interesting about this particular rock and tree is that there's a branch that comes out, and when I'm sitting, the branch is literally right in front of me like this, like if you can picture when you're getting on a roller coaster and they put the bar down. So I've got this bar right here in front of me. When I've leaned up against the trees, whether it's with my forehead or it's with the back of my head, I feel like I'm going to lose my balance, like I have a vertigo. And I think it kind of stops me from really feeling the experience, like that Celestine prophecy that I so much want to experience. And I thought to myself, oh, Gina, just go with it, just allow yourself. If you fall down, what's the big deal? You're going to hit the ground. You're not on a cliff. So I'm talking to myself, try it. You're going to go up against a tree. And this tree just presented itself with this wonderful branch, and I can just sit and put my head against it, and something about having my arms on this branch, I feel like it's holding me, and I get to hold on to it, and I can feel that feeling, but it doesn't send me somewhere. It doesn't make me feel ungrounded. So I knew that was a significant place for me.
Man, what a journey. It's just I just feel like I'm coming off an incredible high. And it's just, I'm not crashing yet. Perhaps tomorrow it'll be But it's been a wonderful journey and such a climb, and then a nice mellow out. So whether that was pre-planned, I'm sure it wasn't. But it was perfect. And I just have to thank everybody, and you'll always be in my heart. Thank you, everybody.
And the whole aspect of what's here, just the wind just blew it inside and filled it, just like it was giving me a new breath. It just, the grounding and the anchoring that this whole experience gave me, it in the end, it ended up giving me knowing my truth, knowing my path, and the clarity will never leave my mind. I just adore the way you live life, and it's contagious. And it's like watching Dorothy run through the woods and experience everything. And I just, it's infectious. You can't help but not take it in and move forward and do something so great with our lives that God originally set out for us, but we got lost somewhere along our path and forgot what He created us for. And offering me for healing. And when I finished all the tasks and all the jobs that we did, and how it took the brokenness and it brought in healing, and Christ did that for us. And when I stepped out of my mandala, I was there in the ground, already made by the rocks that I removed to set up, was the footprints of me walking by myself. And when I left that mandala that day and walked through the forest to come back to join you, I was singing all the hymns and all the whole trip. I was singing, a song would pop into my head about what I experienced. And when I walked out down to towards the end of those bushes, I heard Jesus walking behind me. And it was an overwhelming feeling that I'm healed. And it was all because of this land.
Mm-hmm.
He gave us the gifts and the tools to carry us, and we just need to listen.
High on a hill, in the eastern light, a rock throne waits for you. Your cap of moss, cloak of clover, heart with feathered crest, will tell us you're the one who will teach us in our rest. Let the winds blow on this day in May. Winds blow all our cares away.
She had been looking for it as long as I could remember. As a child, she had wondered, was it something her parents could give her, hidden in a hug or a new toy? Or was it beyond the confines of her home, her friends? Was it somewhere she had yet to discover in the great world beyond? She would spend hours sitting on the concrete steps in front of her house, surrounded by a garden, home of a little ornamental maple and some lily of the valley, watching a bee tunnel into the mountain of earth that was his home, or an ant wander through the landscape of miniature plants. Other days she would sit on a curb in the hot sun, scooping the molten tar with a popsicle stick from the cracks in the concrete street, lost in another time and space. She always went to the same place, the memories of long summers spent with her grandmother in a cottage by the woods and the sea. There she felt somehow closer. Could it be hidden in the forest where she would build secret forts surrounded by ferns and mossy logs sprinkled with sunlight? Or maybe it was in the wind that carried the wonderful smell of the beach with its old weathered logs and tide pools where the crabs and fish hid among the rocks and seaweed. Was it in the sky beyond the clouds? She would look for hours lying on her back in the dried grass and wildflowers, listening to the cry of the gulls and the chorus of birds hidden in the woods, and sometimes the call of an eagle, which always reminded her of the swing as it swayed back and forth, metal rings squeaking against the wood frame. She felt at home in the cottage, waking in the morning to the smell of wood smoke, sitting on the fire stool and gazing into the burning embers. Sometimes she would get up in early dawn, pull down the small rowboat, and row out to the reef where there were always fish enough for breakfast and dinner, or to the creek mouth where there was salmon enough for all the neighbors. It was simple there, away from the roar of traffic and the scurry of people, far from school and math class, which she could never understand the importance of. How did school relate to the wind and the trees and the sky, the smell of the sea and the perfect precision of nature. What did it have to teach her about what she wanted to know? There was no time in those long summer days, days marked only by dawn and dusk and the hot sun at midday. So simple and so perfect. Suddenly, filled with her memories, she knew she had found it. A feeling of oneness, of peace and incredible joy welled up inside her, unfolded like a flower, and filled her whole being with love. Love was inside her. It had been there all along, in everything, in her parents, her friends, in the little bugs living in the garden. It was just easier to see it here in nature, surrounded by the glory of life in its simplicity, away from the hustle and the rush and the struggle for achievement. There was nothing to achieve that she didn't have already. It was so clear in those summers by the sea, when she had felt at one with every little bird and every blade of grass and every creature that did so perfectly what it was supposed to. It simply loved. Suddenly she understood. There was one enormous force of love. It was in the air, in the trees, and all the earth like a river, flowing everywhere, and all of nature flowed with it. Now she knew it was inside of her as much as it was everywhere else, but she had been too busy looking for it. She had been looking everywhere for the one thing she had all along, looking with her eyes, not knowing that it was her eyes. Her search was over. She had found love, and it would be with her always. It was with her in the wind and the trees and the sea and the sky, and in every creature and in every man. She saw them all through her eyes, and her eyes were filled with love.
Chi-cha, cha, N-U-I, or a nigga, hey, 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 oh, I. Chi-cha, cha, N-U-I, or a nigga, hey,
equine truth is a term the horses gave Liz, which they define as the absolute truth from its inception at the thought level to its reverberation in every fiber of the being. This is how animals live, the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Here on Gateway 2 Ranch, in the company of the horses and the animals, the message is universal. We are all one. Human, plant, animal, rock, every single little quark is united in the same cosmic soup. There are spaces, but no boundaries. Boundaries are only thoughts. Let those thoughts be good.
We have come a long way, my friend, through uncertainty, confusion, misinterpretation, carried by the wings of love to a far greater understanding than we could ever have believed. Imagine a world where all minds are joined in the quest for greater understanding. You and I can change the world, one mind at a time. Imagine.